Thanks for tuning in. This is the 2025 Trans Am bike race overview. What this is going to do is kind of give anybody who has any sort of questions on whether they can do this, whether they can figure stuff out about it, whether they can, I don't know. There's so many things, so many questions surrounding this bike race. So if you're tuning in, chime in the comments if you can hear what I'm saying. I did everything I could to make sure the audio works this time, so I'm pretty sure it's all set and working. But okay, so what you should be looking at is the flyer for this year's race and the map of this year's event up here, and then you should see me up in the corner over here. So basically this is going to give people the bird's eye view of the 35,000 foot level view, 10,000 meter level view of what is involved for this year's event, how to register for it, how to find the manual, how to figure out what's up with all the checkpoints and all the routing options, the finish choices, and finally the banned roads and banned areas. So a lot of moving parts in this. It's a little more complex managing the route choices for all these riders. So I really don't want people going on to sketchy roads. So let's just go ahead and start. So June 1st, 2025, Trans Am's going to start. Let's see if anybody could comment here. It's just not showing me the comments. So we'll see if I can figure that out. Over here, maybe. So yeah, race is going to start June 1st next year in Astoria, Oregon. The race has always started in Astoria. It will continue to start in Astoria. We have no plans of changing the start location. So that's pretty much self-explanatory. Astoria, Oregon is about 100 miles from Portland, Oregon, which is your closest airport. It's a couple hundred miles from Seattle. Fairly easy to get to via either Seattle or Portland, or even Vancouver, BC. So yeah, we're going to start in Astoria just like always. And then once again, we have the Yorktown, Virginia finish and the Washington, D.C. finish. So Yorktown is the Yorktown Victory Monument right there in historic Yorktown. And then in D.C. we've got the Lincoln Memorial right there on the National Mall. Both of those are fairly fitting locations for a race across the United States. Just very much filled with history and stories and museums. So the museums would be in DC. Yorktown, you've got your museums a little bit, but not quite to the extent that they have them in DC. So I'm just going to try this out. Here we go. Post it in the chat. If you're watching along, post in the chat. Just say hey. Let's see. So what else is going on? So that's pretty much your start and your finish locations covered. So yeah, if you're thinking about signing up, you're thinking about getting more information, basically you go to the website, rideyourbike.com, right? Let's see, so if you go to Ride Your Bike, you go to Ride Your Bike, you'll see, basically you can get in here, fill out your form that just kind of says, all right, so we're going to do this, Nathan@riderbike.com, and we're going to go to put in my name, and then you're going to say that I'm from Bahrain, right? And go ahead and submit it, and you'll see that you've successfully completed your form. Shows that it'll send it to your email. Shows you there's a manual right here. It should send you an email. Basically, do that and you click on it. It'll show you the manual, all this stuff. Shows you how to find out all the information on it. But yeah, that's pretty much all you got to do to figure out how to sign up for the ride. It's pretty straightforward. Sign up for the ride. You got to complete the waiver. You got to pay the fee. You got to fill out the rider profile form, and you got to sign up for the group form. Anyways, that's pretty much all there is to that. Let's see. So, I'm going to figure out how to get this. So that's basically all there is to sign up. I don't know why I can't see the group chat. It is probably hiding from me. Can't find the dang chat. And the triple edition, maybe. No, that's the. Sorry, give me just a second here. There we go. I guess just nobody's chatting, so that's fine. Whatever. It's either nobody's chatting or it's just not working. So that's just how things work on Facebook sometimes. It's either that or I'm incompetent. So one of the two. Anyway, so let's try and go over some checkpoint information. So if I get rid of this little logo here, you can see that we've got got a route map. You've got your start over here in Yorktown. That's the Astoria column. That's the one of the most iconic features of the town of Astoria. It's got this huge column dedicated to Jacob Astor, I think, some rich guy. Anyway, it starts in Astoria, Oregon. It goes all the way across the United States. You can finish over here at the Yorktown Victory Monument in Virginia or at the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C. Basically, you can find this map on the resources page of the website. You can find this map in the application. You can find this map pretty much anywhere on the Ride Your Bike website, and all sorts of different versions. In the application will be the easiest for riders when they're actually doing the event. For planning purposes, going to the website and clicking on the link for it on the resources page will probably be your best option to just plan and figure out what you're trying to do and see where things are, like your banned roads and your checkpoints, your finish locations, banned areas, routing options. This app's a really good tool for when you're on the fly trying to kind of figure something out. it's not already programmed into your GPS or something else you're using to plan your routing. So anyway, so for this year we've got the three checkpoints, and by three there's actually seven, but 5 of those are all kind of the same sort of choice for everyone. So your first checkpoint is over here in Mitchell, Oregon, checkpoint 1, and officially it's just Mitchell, Oregon as your checkpoint. Unofficially it's gonna be the Spoken Hostel and Praise Assembly here. It is Janet and Patrick and a lot of other folks have been there for the race for several years now. I can't remember when they started. I want to say 2018. But yeah, it is pretty much a mandatory stop, mostly because it's one of the only things out there. The people are amazing. They're great folks who have saved me from disaster a couple of times. Yeah, Mitchell's not a big town by any means. It's kind of gotten going a whole lot more over the past 5 years, 10 years. When I first went through it, 2013, 2014, there was not much there. Now they got store going, restaurant, the hostel's great. You've got the John Day fossil beds over here. There's lots more to say about it. It's a tiny little place. They'll tell you it's tiny. They subsist pretty much. It's all do-it-yourself out there. They keep themselves going off of love and passion. So checkpoint 1 is a pretty logical place to start the whole checkpoint funneling of riders. For years, the red bike nonstop route, as well as the blue Trans Am bike route, have both gone through Mitchell. It's somewhere that's kind of not to be missed, and logistically speaking, there's really only so many ways across the state of Oregon that are low traffic. And hey, Raph, good to see you there. Thanks for chiming in. So yeah, that's basically what's up with it. That's why checkpoint 1 is there. And once again, I'm only concerned with enforcing, air quotes, enforcing checkpoints in this year's event. People kind of take this a little too seriously sometimes, in the sense that, I get that people want to stick to this old route and stay true to it, but you don't have to ride the same route every time, especially that we've lost 2 people on and had many others get hit on. I built these other routes so that I don't have to relive that trauma every year of my life for the rest of my life and worry about everyone so much. So for those who want to die on the hill and say that the Trans Am bike route is the only route, I ask you to find something else. It's a great route. It's amazing. It goes through my hometown in Fairgrove, Missouri. But plain and simple, I don't want to live that drama ever again. What happened in 2017 with Eric Fishbein, what happened in 2018 with John Egbers, TC Chang, a few other riders getting hit, being fine, but overall, but still not finishing their bike race. It's something that I don't want to deal with all the time. And you can see that's why there's all these new routes. Oops, that screwed my thing up. Oh well. There's all these new routes and options. So let's move on to checkpoint 2. Checkpoint 2 is at Moran, Wyoming. This is, once again, not really a place. If you zoom in on Moran, Wyoming, you'll find it's basically an intersection. There's a little town with a post office, a fire station, an elementary school. I don't think there's definitely no stores there. It is basically a post office town. It is, once again, kind of a major junction of that section of the Rocky Mountains, going through Yellowstone National Park, Teton National Park. There's a few ways to slice it, and you'll see that we've got these new routes this year. Well, this yellow one on the left is actually from last year, but the one down here is definitely a new one for this year. And we'll see if anybody takes any of these routes. These yellow routes along the bottom, they're functionally, we'll go through this in more detail once I finish the checkpoints, but they're pretty much all paved. Anything that's yellow should be almost all pavement, like 99%. There might be a little chunk of gravel thrown in just because it was the only thing, but functionally it will be very comparable to the Trans Am in terms of pavement. Red route is still going to be mixed terrain, it's, we'll go into that later. So checkpoint 2 over here in Moran, there's no real going around this place. Pretty much all the roads kind of lead to it through there if you want to, get onto this road to Du Bois and go out the Wind River Range, as they would say. So, checkpoint 2, right next to Grand Teton National Park. It's actually exiting it, so you can approach it on the Trans Am coming from Yellowstone. You can approach it on the classic bike Nonstop route going through the Ashton Flag Ranch Road, and you can approach it from the south via Hoback Junction, and then you actually go through Jackson. So they amended the Trans Am route, so it kind of comes over from Victor here and goes up through Jackson, or not really the Trans Am, but the U.S. Bicycle Route System route, which doesn't really connect it to anything. It just kind of works out that way. Anyways, that's kind of a separate story for the Trans Am folks. You'll see there's this huge loop that goes out to Rollins in this weird way now that adds literally 100 miles. And that is the Adventure Cycling Association's U.S. Bicycle Route System choice. So everybody has to ride an extra 100 miles in the Trans Am now, and that is not my choice overall, but it's what the route is. So anybody who wants to die on the hill of saying we're riding the Adventure Cycling Association's U.S. Bicycle Route System route, you have to ride an extra 100 miles now. And I say that maybe spitefully. I don't mean it spitefully. I mostly mean it as you get what you ask for, like, you want to ride the route, you can ride the route. There's also other ways to slice this, and I've worked very hard to make them a more palatable option for folks. So finally, let's go to checkpoint 3. So checkpoint 1 is maybe 350 miles, 400 miles from Astoria. Checkpoint 2 is right at around 1,000 or maybe 850 if you go direct on the bike Nonstop route. Checkpoint 3, and I'm going to turn off. See, if you're using your phone, the Ride Your Bike app, or looking on the website, there's actually a little button down here that's going to turn off your banned roads and banned areas. So you can do that very easily. But yeah, let's go ahead and review. So we have 5 checkpoint 3s. Each of these are different in that they're, a few hundred miles apart. They're similar in that they all cross the Missouri River, Mississippi River, sorry. Starting up in Burlington, you have your first checkpoint at the Great River Bridge. Goes over Mississippi River in between Burlington and Gulfport. Second choice for checkpoint 3 is the Keokuk-Hamilton Bridge out of the towns of Keokuk, Iowa, or Hamilton, Illinois. Your third choice is one that was actually utilized last year, going over the Mark Twain Memorial Bridge. That would be the first Petra and I want to say Dan. Petra and Dan, yeah. Petra and Dan were the ones who went across this. Basically, they got sick of all the goofiness in Missouri. I've ridden this section of Missouri so many times in so many ways, and it's all kind of a challenge. And I can see why people would get sick of it. So, there's a lot of safe roads in northern Missouri and southern Iowa. There's not a lot going on them in terms of services, but there's a lot of route choices through here that make things pretty mellow. So, anyways, this is a new option that was added, and then we have our classic options of the Clark Bridge. That would be your Bike Nonstop classic one that goes through Alton, Illinois, coming out of West Alton, Missouri. Basically that's going to be it's got the Katy Trail running into it. It's got these nice trails running out of Edwardsville. This is your classic Bike Nonstop route across the country. We've been running it since 2019. People that are going to want to try these northern routes are going to be interested more in getting a faster time. If you go for this fourth one down here at Clark Bridge, it's kind of going to be more of your classic route. It's going to offer you the chance to get through the Katy Trail, which is about 150 miles from Boonville here. In the past, I've tried routing it. Originally I routed it through Kansas City, and because you can ride the trail, it goes out past Sedalia, and then there's the Rock Island Trail, I want to say, that goes almost all the way into Kansas City. But Kansas City is just absolutely terrible to ride a bike through. It's for a number of reasons. It's no real fault on the town itself. It's just the way the roads are there. Not good for riding a bike. So it's the Bike Nonstop route has kind of slowly drifted over to kind of avoid Kansas City and to not go south of the Mississippi River to try. There's just not a lot of good bridge crossings there. So anyway, finally we have the Chester Bridge in Chester, Illinois. Final Mississippi River crossing. Basically, that's going to get you. Across the bridge to Chester, which is the home of Popeye. Which, if you know who Popeye is, it means you're old, myself included. So, anyways, you can view all of these checkpoints finish locations and routing. All of that's available in the app and on the route resources page. We've got 3 checkpoints, actually 7, but only one of them is mandatory. And so then finally, you finish in DC and you finish in Yorktown. Either of the monuments there, both filled with history. More history than you take a stick at. So that really covers the start, the finishes, the checkpoints. So now a bit about the routes. So the routing on this is getting increasingly complex. Let's see, I think that color shows up a little better on the streaming. So you've got your blue route being the classic Trans Am bike race route going from Astoria all the way to Yorktown. Blue route goes to Colorado, goes to Kansas, goes to Missouri, and then you've got your Illinois, your Kentucky, and your Virginia. That's the one that's now almost 4,400 miles, thanks to the extra 100 miles to get to Rawlins. It's the classic route. It's the one that started in 2014. It's the one that everybody is familiar with. If you've heard of the Trans Am bike race, that's why you're here, and you know that route at least exists. So in late 2018, after we lost John Egbers, I made it my mission to scout a different route across the United States. And I made probably 6 trips, different flights, different rides. Some of it I've drove. Most of it I've ridden at this point. Several bits of it I've ridden quite a few times at this point. Basically, just tried to figure out 1, a shorter way across the country, 2, a way across the country that uses existing bicycle infrastructure, and that's basically it. Shorter, and it actually uses bicycle infrastructure. The Trans Am bike route, the blue route, is your 50-year-old route. I mean, it's older than that at this point. Yeah, it's almost 50. It was built for another era that doesn't exist anymore. These roads have all changed so much in those past 50 years. The red route was built literally 6 years ago, based off of how things are kind of moving these days. So, 5 of those major aspects of the red bike nonstop route are the fact that once you get to Nebraska, you're pretty much on bike path. So somewhere around here is Norfolk, and that gets on the Cowboy Trail and runs all the way to Valentine to Norfolk. I got it backwards. It's about 200 miles of fairly rough bike trail. Some of it starts off pretty rough. It gets a little better towards the end. It's got a lot of goat heads. If you try to ride it with narrow tires without sealant in it, you're going to have a bad time and probably get flats. If you ride with wider tires and sealant, you'll probably love it. If you run like 42s or anything bigger than that, you're just going to love the Cowboy Trail for the most part. I mean, it's Tornado Alley. All of this is Tornado Alley. Basically, like from here all the way over to here. I think they had a tornado over here. I don't remember if it was Denver or where it was. Anyways, they had a tornado just a couple days ago. Once again, these Nebraska options were kind of added to make it shorter, make it more quicker, more direct way to get this thing done, as opposed to doing the 4,400 mile route. So, moving on. The Cowboy Trail is a bike trail across Nebraska. And then over here in Missouri, you've got the Katy Trail, which runs nearly across the state. It doesn't ride the full Katy Trail, unfortunately, like I mentioned, just because you kind of got to avoid Kansas City. It's not much fun. Theoretically, somebody could come down here and ride the length of the trail across Missouri if they were brave. You can actually, the 2019 route would go kind of straight south down here to kind of bypass Kansas City, and that's how the route used to run, and it makes sense. It's all really good riding, but it's kind of this circuitous loop that adds another 70 miles or so to the route. So for brevity's sake, we've got these kind of shorter options now moving across. So Nebraska, a lot of bike path. Missouri, a lot of bike path. It goes into Illinois, like 60 miles of bike path. And then the rest of Illinois and Indiana are just kind of crapshoots. This southern route has some gravel on it. It's not too crazy. These yellow routes are all pavement. We'll go into those in a sec. So yeah, you've got Nebraska, Missouri, a little bit of Illinois, and then you get to Ohio, and this red route, pretty much from Cincinnati, is all bike path. Paved bike path, flat paved bike path. This is really kind of oddly the crown jewel of, maybe not the route, but it's sure the crown jewel of Ohio. And it's just a delight to ride on. To get that far across the country, and then all of a sudden you're on this bike only path for the majority of the state. There's a little connection here through Columbus that honestly kind of sucks, but for the most part, 230 miles to get up to Massillon, and then there's these sort of towpaths that run through here south of Massillon, and the Zor Valley Trail. Then you got to get around Steubenville. There's a really crazy connection that goes around Steubenville because they closed the bridge. So we're leaving that crazy connection in for this year. Riders can probably figure out a way around it if they want. But so finally over here just south of Pittsburgh at McKeesport, or whatever it's called, McKeesport, you hop on the Great Allegheny Passage Trail, and that runs all the way over into Maryland, and then it swaps over to the C&O towpath, and that runs, I want to say, from Cumberland all the way to DC, and that's mostly, the C&O is kind of rough. If it's a little wet, if it's dry, it kind of gets beat down. It gets really fast, and then it kind of turns to pavement towards the end once it gets onto DC there. But the bike nonstop route, we changed it. It's gone. It changes every year. It never stays the same. Constantly working on it, constantly tweaking it, constantly improving it. We used to start the bike nonstop race in Portland. And then last year we moved it up to Astoria so that we could have the dual start as the Trans Am Bike Nonstop. Last year had some pretty goofy routing. I sent it down a really old forest road that had some goofy logging stuff on it, and probably would have been fine had it not just absolutely pissed down rain that first day and just kind of roasted everybody. That said, it's not like I didn't tell everybody if they want to go around, they can go around. So that was their choice to ride down the crazy forest road that I had routed them down. Not necessarily mine. It was just a nice suggestion. But for this year, I routed everybody around it, which adds more mileage, of course. But it's all pavement out of Astoria. It's all pavement out of Astoria, and then it comes down to Vernonia here and hops onto the Banks-Vernonia rail trail. It's probably like 25 miles or so. runs down the banks here. It's all paved. Some of it's kind of bumpy, but it's very flat, very fast. It's about the smoothest way you can get from Astoria back to Portland, and throw in some bike path in the deal. So we changed that up for this year, and then for the bike nonstop route going out of Portland, last year we had to go over Still Creek Road, which kind of scared a lot of people because somebody posted a photo of some snow. Still Creek Road's actually a very nice way to go around the mountain there. Some people get scared of it because they don't know what's back there, but I've ridden up it, driven up it probably half a dozen times at this point, all sorts of times a year, and it's a lot of fun. And it also pops out near some services that are right here, whereas this new routing, if you don't hit this ranger station here at Ripplebrook, there's basically no services between Estacada out here and Maupin. There's something over here at, was it Pine Grove? Yeah, Pine Grove. But if the ranger station isn't closed, you're probably going to make it, Pine Grove's still going to be closed. So if you cut all of this, and I think some of the people are definitely going to be tempted to take this Highway 26 through here, which at the moment I'm allowing. I'm going to wait a bit and see if I decide to ban the road or not. It's a mixed bag. It's not, I wouldn't say it's sketchy, but compared to riding through Ripplebrook or riding up Still Creek Road, it's an additional risk that I'm not sure I really want people taking. We'll see. I'm still thinking on it. I don't really want to just go and I'm trying not to ban every road outright, right? So it's like, so yeah, we've got your red route, your bike nonstop route, your blue route, your Trans Am bike race route, and now the yellow route. So yellow routes don't really have a proper name to them. They're basically all options anybody can take. Trans Am bike mounts, anybody can go into DC can take a yellow route, anybody going to Yorktown can take a yellow route. I mean, at this point, anybody can take any routes. All I'm asking is for you to get through the checkpoint. So fairly straightforward there. The overarching rules, but the amount of choices you have in between, probably not so straightforward. So trying to address all these yellow routes is a bit difficult. We'll start on the Trans Am because that makes it a little easier. You've got the southern route here, and that kind of avoids the old historic Trans Am route. The southern route's kind of like what most other touring cyclists take that just don't want to ride the Trans Am for some reason. There's a whole separate class of touring cyclists out there that ride across the country with just zero understanding of the ACA or the U.S. bicycle route system, and that's fine. It's actually great in some ways because it just forces people to take a different approach. There's not just one way across the country. So people who have been riding alternatives to it for years have kind of worked out this way that goes along Highway 450 through southern Kansas, and then so the northern bit. This is where we lost both John and Eric, and I get that people still want to ride the classic route through there. That's why I keep it an option. That's why I've made the checkpoints so that everybody can ride whatever route they want. I'm not their boss. I appreciate those who want to ride the classic route in the memory of those who we've lost, and I understand and value their reasoning behind it and their desire to come back and want to do it over and over again. For those who are new to this, I wholeheartedly stress that I have built many different options for them. What I would argue are safer options. There's no way I can prove anything safer. I can tell you there are shorter distances to travel, which means less time exposed on the bike, and they are more frequently ridden by cyclists or designated as cyclist routes. So I can't say that this red route is the perfect, safest route across the country. That's never going to happen. But it's what we have. So yeah, and then additionally there's these other yellow routes. This is the US BRS. This is the officially signed route across Kansas. This is kind of the historical route. This one actually gets off KS 96 sooner, which is like a 1,000,000-mile long road of insanity. And there's a little fort down here at Larned. We've just kept both those options for people just because 96 it's alright, it's fine. I don't think the shoulder increases through here or anything. I don't know, I won't judge it one way or the other. That's why you can go either way. So there's those yellow options, and then you'll additionally see in like Kentucky, there's some yellow options. Once again, these are US bicycle route system routes. They kind of show up. And then finally in Yorktown, Yorktown, I haven't updated the route for this year, so yellow is what will actually be the air quote official route into Yorktown. They did all this construction this year, so I had to route everybody around to avoid that. But the yellow route is the US bicycle route system kind of underlaid the blue route, and you see they're for the most part very similar. So yeah, that's the yellow routes for the Trans Am, just kind of paved alternates. Now for bike nonstop, oh yeah, and then finally you have McKenzie Pass, or Sanchin Pass, up the yellow one here if McKenzie Pass is closed, which it sort of was this year. It wasn't closed on Sunday, but then it was kind of closed Monday, Tuesday. People still made it over. Ugh, I could go on about that, so. Moving on. Let's kind of discuss the yellow routes in perspective of going to DC. We have 1.5, we'll call it, options for southern Idaho. If you ride this red route across, you're going to run into some fairly chunky gravel. There's a really challenging section going from Horseshoe Bend up to Garden Valley to get over Grimes Pass. In the past, we had ran people up through Banks, but this little connector here, it's only like 17 miles long, but it is just a nightmare of high-speed logging trucks, curvy roads, no shoulders, and a lot of guardrails. So I want to say 2-3 years ago, we made this new routing from Horseshoe Bend to Garden Valley, which goes through Placerville, which, if it's open, is a literal godsend. Nice folks back there taking care of the racers as they come through every year. Yeah, this is a challenging section. Realistically, with the checkpoint option, somebody could just ride up Banks and go to Garden Valley. I don't know if I'm going to ban this road or just leave it as an option for folks. You know, if you were to do this in the middle of the night at like 3 in the morning, it would probably be very calm and easy. But if you hit it in the morning or afternoon, it's just a nightmare. So once again, I can't be the judge of literally every choice on this. I can provide some guidelines and some options, but yeah. Anyways, Red Route's pretty tough to get across Idaho. It's tough, but it's also very short. It's the quickest possible way to get across the state. These yellow routes, they add maybe 70 more miles. Hey Charles, thanks for chiming in. They add maybe another 70 or 80 miles, but they are basically all paved. There is a really goofy section though. Basically, when you start paralleling the Highway 86 in Idaho here, there's this connector that just kind of doesn't connect. There's a gravel road that goes around, huge climb up the gravel road, or you can sneak into this park over here, and then there's some restrooms, there's a toilet, there's some goofy trails that run along here. You can ride over to the parking area, and then this is where it gets a little sketch. You basically have to get onto the interstate and work your way around. This race actually has a total ban on interstates, I've said, but there's this one, like 2/3 of a mile, where basically if you want to do this, you're going to have to get on the interstate, probably going backwards. And you can walk it, push it, ride it. It's going to be fairly low traffic. It's not the first time somebody's done that out there. Actually, all of Idaho, you can legally ride on the interstate. So it's legal, first of all. It's not like you're breaking the law getting on the interstate. You're riding it backwards. I'm sure if you're staying very close to the edge and being mindful and a police officer were to come up, you could probably explain your situation. Like I said, it's legal. It doesn't say which way you have. I'm pretty sure you could ride it backwards. There's lots of evidence of people doing this. There is a way around. It goes, like I said, just up some gravel and over. It doesn't look like fun, and their services are fairly sparse out there. So for sanity's sake, I really think going backwards on the highway for 2/3 of a mile is a fairly reasonable choice there. Not perfect, but when you're trying to get a bike ride across the country, especially over the wide open West, the choices, they kind of deteriorate. So that runs into American Falls here, nice little town, and then from there you've got a couple options. You can head up to Rexburg. All of this is some fairly mellow riding. It avoids the major ways through the area. There's not a lot of services back there, but some of the mellowest riding you'll find in Idaho. Idaho's a rough state. It's just classic Mountain West. They only have so much money for resources out there, so your southern, it's a lot like Eastern Oregon. They're brethren. Not a lot of money flowing through there to build bike routes and such. So new for this year, we've got this southern Idaho route connects out of Pocatello, goes through Soda Springs, hooks up to Hoback Junction, goes to Jackson. I think it's a little bit shorter. I don't know, maybe it's the same distance actually. Maybe it's longer. Yeah. All of this yellow stuff's going to add a little more mileage over going your bike classic red route. But this yellow one, you're going to have more services. You're going to have all pavement. This one's going to have a little more traffic on it. For the most part, once you get past all the hot springs and all of this back here is going to be really mellow. This little connector here where it hops on this main north-south, that's going to be pretty busy, but they widen up the shoulder right there, so there's a few ways through this little valley here, but this 89 north-south here, especially down, it's all kind of busy. But it is literally your only way to connect up into Hoback and then Jackson. Jackson it's a good destination to have on a route like this because it is kind of loaded with bike shops. And this is like a bike shop starved part of the country. You really won't find much in the way of bike shops unless you're up here by like Hamilton. This little stretch here has a lot of bike shops, but then this is all kind of a dead zone. I want to say it's not a total dead zone. Maybe Dillon has some bike stuff going on it these days. I'm pretty sure it does, but in terms of lots of parts and resources, Jackson is going to be a definite place you're going to want to stop to get literally anything that could that you could need for a bike race across the country. So that kind of summarizes. We've got Oregon, you get it. Idaho, you've got three and a half options now. Once you get to checkpoint 2, you get funneled back onto the Trans Am. This is a pretty good stretch of road. Togwitty Pass has a pretty big shoulder going up over it, and then you got huge shoulder all the way down all of this. All the way to the split here at, they don't even have a name for this junction. It's just where the road splits and kind of goes down to different valleys or whatever, but once you pass DuBois, past Crowheart, it's a nice little reservation town. You got to make a choice whether you're going to stay north or go south. You can actually still kind of fix your choice if you decide to go south, you can see, but so yeah, you've got to make a little decision there. You can actually wait a little bit longer now to make the decision, so moving on. The bike nonstop route, it's all pavement going through here. It's all pavement. All of Wyoming's pavement. Everything's paved. Aside from this entrance over here on the Flag Ranch Road. But yeah, you can... All roads kind of lead towards Casper now. Trans Am goes down to Muddy Gap. It used to cut straight to Rollins, and then this would run on the Highway 80, but like I said, the ACA and the USBRS changed all of that. Does the route go over Teton Pass? It can go over Teton Pass. The actual USBRS that they just created basically runs right to the border. Which then means it's like, okay, you gotta get there through Victor, which means you gotta come through here. And this Highway 26 here kind of sucks. No shoulder, very busy. And then this connector over to Victor, once again, no shoulder, and I'm not gonna say it's very busy, but it's fairly busy. It's not like a major truck route, but the tourist traffic is going through there in mass. Coming from the west. And I'm trying to figure out if I want to ban this or what. I don't know. There's some gravel ways that you can theoretically cut through. I don't know. The route, so yeah, officially the USBRS just ends at the border here. So Idaho, well, part of the USBRS system, they have no actual routes across the state. Idaho is a weird one in that sense. Yeah, so moving on back to getting to Casper or Rollins. You can go this northern bit, runs you straight into Casper. There's some old bike trail that runs through it. If you go south, you can go all the way down to Muddy Gap, which goes to this new place on the route now called Alcova. Alcova's got a general store, gas station, it's got a grill. Alcova is kind of, I don't know what to call it now. It's kind of the new Muddy Gap. It's about the same vibe. Alcova's a little bit bigger than Muddy Gap, but you'll want to stop there before you make this goofy run down to get to what's this place called? Walcott. Walcott's got a gas station there. I think it's 24 hours. But I would argue that this extra 100 miles here, oh my gosh, it's going to make things a little more challenging just to avoid 10 miles of interstate. But that's the choice of the ACA, and I'm just going to kind of roll with it because, well, it's the route now, right? You can't argue with that. So, you'll see once you get past Alcova here, there's you kind of have to reckon with your decision, right? So, I think there's like some schools back here, so you might be able to find water, but I don't think they have a business. Oh no, it's Stop and Shop. Okay, so Medicine Bow's got a little place that, if it's dark, it's not going to be open, but it's back there. It's the same as what you've kind of been dealing since leaving Lander here. There's just nothing. It's Wyoming. Like, you just be happy if you find a building. So, but once you pass Alcova, you get to make the choice, like, do you want to ride the long way to get to Walcott, or do you just want to keep on rolling to Casper, which is probably like 15, 20 miles past here, and literally loaded with services. It's got a bike shop or two. Casper is like the realest place you're going to run into once you leave Lander over here, or Riverton. It's your last place, and it's also kind of your last place like before you get into Nebraska. All these other places, Glen Rock, Douglas, Orrin, Shawnee, they're nothing. Lusk is kind of a place, but I don't think they have a bike shop. Maybe I'm wrong, but Lusk is kind of your next real place in terms of like having hotels and restaurants. But that's about it. So yeah, that kind of, this yellow connector is just kind of there for anybody who has an epiphany when they're riding this route, and they're just like, oh, I could just connect to this and save easily like 800 miles or something over the overall route. So yeah, at Lusk, you got another decision to make. So in 2018, I did this drive through here out of Ogallala up through Scotts Bluff. There's a lot of good shoulder here, a lot of good shoulder here, and it shows up on the map as kind of somewhere that some people have ridden. I wouldn't say it's a popular route across the country, but you can see it just kind of pops into this valley. It's fairly lush by Western America standards, Central Western America. It goes up by the lake here, connects to Ogallala, and then parallels the Highway 80. You ride on Highway 30, which Highway 30 has a huge shoulder on it. I rode that section in 2017 going around the world. Huge shoulder on it all the way across. So you've got this old highway that parallels the interstate, and the old highway just has zero traffic on it, and then it has a giant shoulder on top of it. So it's some of the just most thoughtless riding you could ever do. There's services all over it. Um, if I had to say which way I would want to just ride across the plains, if I had a choice and time wasn't an issue, I would 100% just go this way. Cowboy Trail is fun up here. It's kind of rough. It's definitely a little more scenic. If you go this way, you're going to get that more sort of classic open west cowboy vibe. Once again, it starts over here in Valentine and runs over to Norfolk, about 200 miles. And it kind of hops off and on the highway there because they've closed sections of it over the years. But it's still the shortest route. I want to say it's maybe 70 miles shorter than going the southern route. It's basically, and then finally now there's kind of a third option, a fifth option to get across the Great Plains, and that's really if you just want to ride this highway that parallels out of Norfolk, or not Norfolk, sorry, out of Valentine. Go back up to Valentine here. You'll see there it is, the Highway 20 that just runs right next to the Cowboy Trail. And that's going to be a lot easier to get across. It's got a huge shoulder on it once again. Almost all of Nebraska, they build their roads to have huge shoulders on it. I don't know if it's because of the farming, because the way their DOT works, or because of just some money that they have. But most of the state has huge shoulders on just even their kind of most minor highways. All of that kind of dries up, unfortunately, as it gets closer to Omaha, and that's why you've got some fairly crazy routing getting into Omaha here. There's some good chunky gravel out here that just roasts everybody. And the reason that is this, we can turn on the banned roads here, and you'll see this US 275 is just banned. We used to route people down this. There's not much shoulder and there's way too much traffic. It's kind of the only paved option in the area, north-south, and it works as a real good connection for services, but most people don't like it. It's one of those, if you went over it in the middle of the night, it would probably be okay, but for the most part, it's just out of commission for this and future versions of the event. So yeah, that pretty much explains Nebraska. You got a few ways to get across it. Actually, kind of three ways. There's probably a fourth way if you come here and go through all of this stuff. It might actually be a little shorter. And I'm just going to leave that open to folks. I think you'd want to come off of, you'd want to get over here to, what is it? One of these towns. Anywhere, there's a lot of ways across Nebraska, and it's a lot of good roads, and I'm not going to take the time to provide all the options across the Great Plains. There's already too many routes that I'm trying to manage, which is why there's checkpoints now, right? I can give you guys some suggested routes, and you can tweak them as you like. There's the historical routes, there's the new yellow routes, so that gets things pretty much all the way to the actual Midwest. It gets us out of the plains, and then things get kind of messy, right? So you've got your checkpoints along the Mississippi River, and then you've got 4 routes across Iowa and Missouri, and there's still potentially more options. Like all of this through here is very mellow, but there are some major east-west state highways that I really don't want people taking. And you'll see, once again, we have this little band button down here. Shows you your band areas, and band roads. So first of all, I don't want people really going through central or northern Iowa. There's no real reason for that other than just it's just not the race I'm trying to run here. You don't need to go to Des Moines. Reason for that being it's just too big of a city. If you're up here, you should have stopped in Omaha to fix your bike and buy some tubes or whatever. I know it's a little harsh to be like, oh, I can't go to Des Moines. I mean, really, say if you were on this northern route and you broke down, there's nothing really saying you couldn't ride up in Des Moines, go to the bike shop, and then ride back out of it. That wouldn't really be like a disqualification or anything. But it's just not how we're trying to run it this year. No fault of northern Iowa. Fantastic place, but the goal is to kind of, I mean, there's just, Iowa's kind of, let's just say its major roads aren't great for cycling. They're kind of rolling. There's zero shoulder. There's rumble strip over the whole state. The whole state is just filled with rumble strip. So that's kind of why you'll see the second you get into Iowa here, this Highway 34 is banned all the way across the state. And it's exactly that. It's just rumble strip and one lane all the way across the state. And it just kind of rolls, and I'm not going to say it's high traffic because it's southern Iowa. It's not really like a shipping corridor, but there's definitely a lot of local traffic that's going 55, 60 miles an hour down these roads. So same thing with this Highway 2. It goes straight across, but it's just rumble strip the whole way. Same with the 136 down in Missouri. More rumble strips. It's just kind of what they've made standard. Keep going down. You got Highway 6. I want to say that's the, what do they call it? The Chicago something. I forget what it is. It's a pretty big interstate, or not interstate, state highway. Dual carriageway state highway. It's actually got a really good shoulder on it. I think I actually rode it once in 2017, but it doesn't really fit the ethos or mantra. The goal is to kind of, ride minor roads, not get on something with, a huge shoulder on a dual carriageway or whatever. So yeah, you kind of get, there's just a lot of choices here. And then also down here, Highway 36, Highway 36, Highway 136, Highway 34, Highway 2, and Highway 6. 5 routes that are all pretty much banned across Missouri. I've pretty much got this all dialed in terms of banned roads across Missouri. I've got your suggested route, which is your kind of southern route across Iowa here. This is, I want to say it's all paved. There might be a couple miles of gravel, but it's all paved. There's jack for services on it, I'll tell you that. It's kind of your straightest shot that stays on minimal roads that actually have pavement. What I kind of foresee is people are gonna want to divert into these towns on the banned roads here, and probably either go down and back up, or if it's like, say you went down into Corydon here, and you rode out like a mile and started working your way back up to this route, I wouldn't really care. The goal is to just kind of not have people riding the whole lengths of these roads, these banned roads, east-west. I mean, obviously, these are where your services are going to be for the most part, like real services as in a gas station. this is going to be just kind of your nowhere. You might find your fishing shack that has some stuff to sell back here, but it's going to be pretty sparse in terms of services. So, yellow routes across Iowa, Missouri, not filled with services, but also on very minimal traffic, paved roads. I will say they're pretty safe. If you want to ride across the state, these are going to be kind of your calmer options. Obviously, you can follow the Red Bike Nonstop route, connect down to the Katy Trail, and that's a whole different story. You know, it's a great route. It's several years old at this point and quite refined. So yeah, you can see we got this big old red area. That just means don't go there. And then of course you've got your minor band roads. Obviously, just don't go all the way down these roads. You know, if you ride, they're not outright dangerous in themselves for like a mile or 3, but if you're riding for 200-300 miles across the state down this road that just has a rumble strip and no shoulder, it's very sketch and exhausting. And that's why things are set up that way. And so yeah, you got your 5 checkpoints. And then so far I haven't really finished the Illinois section of band roads. Still kind of working on it. I definitely know, is there a suggested route to get to the middle yellow line? No, you just gotta figure it out yourself. It kind of with the band road here, you don't want to take that, and with the river here, there's like 16 different ways to slice it, and you can just figure that out yourself. This is all posted on the route resources page, but if you want to try and make it to CP3 here, you got to figure it out yourself. All of it, like I said, it's all really mellow back here, unless you're on one of these major east-west highways, or some of this north-south stuff can get a little sketch, but I think I've marked it for the most part. So yeah, Illinois, you have 4-5 options now to get across the state of Illinois. Classic Trans Am, the classic bike nonstop route, and now these 3 different routes coming out of Alton, Hamilton, and Burlington. So northern one's going to get you into Peoria, which is going to be a place. It's going to have some bike shop action, all your services. The central route, it's just going to run through little nowhere towns. It's somewhat designed around services, but for the most part, you're going to have to divert every now and then. A lot of these yellow routes are not designed around services. They're meant to be kind of like the most obvious, shortest, safest route across. Just kind of what I would expect somebody who was planning their own route to figure out. And I'm trying to make it so it's pretty obvious where you're not supposed to go. So this Highway 136 out of Missouri continues on into Illinois. It goes pretty much all the way over here, and then I don't know if I either ran out of energy or if it gets a little better there. I think it actually ends there and turns into a road with a shoulder or something a little more minor. Yeah, the yellow routes are your more obvious choices. I'm going to probably ban more roads through the state over the next couple weeks. Like I said, I've set September 1st is when I expect to have the bulk of road bans and banned areas finally marked. Like I said, it's all manual work doing all this, like just going in and using logic of is this road a smart road to ride down, or is this just absolute bad shit? Like I said, I'm not a big fan of roads that have rumble strips right next to them that run for their entire length. And the Trans Am has a lot of these. The Bike Nonstop route, I've done everything in my power to make sure people don't end up on those sorts of roads. And these yellow routes are of the same sort of philosophy. Like I said, not real heavy on services, but heavy on dodging traffic, but staying on pavement, right? So, which that brings us over to Indiana. It's basically same sort of vibe as Illinois. You can either, these sections up north are going to be a little flatter, and basically I've kind of designed them to integrate into Ohio. So the southern yellow route you'll see runs into Cincinnati, which is where the start of the Ohio, or the Cincinnati, what do they call it? The Ohio, the Erie, I can't even remember what it's called now. Runs from Cincinnati. It actually goes all the way up here to Erie, but it's paved trail here. That's what the whole point of this yellow route down here. It keeps it so that you can, you'll get over here a little faster. It's all pavement. It avoids Indianapolis. I'm still thinking there's probably going to be a band area here because I really don't want people riding straight through it. Once again, it's like if you have to divert into it, divert into it. Otherwise, you should just make it to Cincinnati. And then our second option, you'll see I've sent it through, what's it called, Dayton here. Runs up into Xenia. There's a nice little bike path here. Basically your most sort of kind of logical connection to get the most out of the paved. Little Miami, yeah, Little Miami's somewhere down here. I think it's the Ohio to Erie is what it's called. It runs through, connects over to the Bike Nonstop route. Anyways, the point of these is just to try and maximize the Ohio section, to keep this route that I've worked to kind of keep into the race. And you can see I don't want people riding through Western Virginia. That's just all banned. There's definitely routes there, don't get me wrong, but it's just not the direction I'm trying to go with this year's event. I kind of want to funnel people onto the existing routes. Like, I really don't see anybody who gets here on the Trans Am like diverting anywhere. I mean, if you're riding the Trans Am to get here, you're probably gonna finish on all of this. I mean, there's ways to go around in some of these places, but it's just kind of like, sure, you can take a shortcut if you got to make your flight or something. I really don't care, but I expect everybody who makes it this far is going to just ride the Trans Am route. Kind of similar thing going on with the Bike Nonstop route over here. All of these roads that go through here are just like insanity hill climbing. Like, it's just crazy Appalachia. Like, if you want to try and make up a shortcut here, you're just kind of kidding yourself, because there's not really ways to do it. I mean, yeah, say like here, cut off a little bit of that. It's like you could, but you're just going to go over hills and you're going to miss like some of the most amazing, beautiful riding there is. So, kind of done everything I can to make it to where it's kind of obvious that it's like, you want to ride this route, you know? Like, I'm not going to put it out there and be like, oh, you have to ride this route or I'm going to come in with a penalty for you. It's like, there's only so much I can be expected to manage for this shit. I'm trying to make it as clear as possible that people have choices, and I'm not really the enforcer so much as I am a suggester. So finally, yeah, you've got this northern route that cuts all the way across Peoria and just flipping nowhere, Illinois and Indiana. There's a little town there, Logansport, might have something resembling a bike shop. This other place might have something. Going to stick with the traditional route, except maybe Eastern Colorado. Yeah, you know, whatever you want to do, the choices are there. Whatever you want to do, Jay. It's more power to you. Any way you want to do it, I try to just keep an option for folks, right? So once again, this northern route just goes pretty much straight across and runs into Massillon. Before it gets to Massillon, it hops off the bike path, takes some pavement here, because this, I think, is gravel up here. This is pavement to get into Massillon. Basically, it's going to be your shortest route across, more or less. Get to this checkpoint 3 and divert straight over to Massillon, and then follow this to DC is what I would expect to see anybody who's trying to do this new route. So let's take a look at this for a second. This is going to be this is posted on the resources page of the route resources page of the Ride Your Bike website. This is what we're calling it the short legal route. So I'm not going to say it's the shortest option to get across the U.S., but I'm going to say that it is very close to it. It's one of your shortest options you're going to find with the most pavement. It's 3,270 miles, and it is 17% unpaved. So for the most part, it's a lot of pavement. Which route is the most scenic? Well, the most scenic would probably be a mix of, if you wanted the most absolute scenic route, you would follow the Trans Am. Well, you can follow either way. Yeah, probably follow the Trans Am over McKenzie Pass, right? Follow this. Idaho, either of these ways are, well, the red and the blue are going to be your most scenic. Up to Missoula is going to be a bunch of work. And then Montana's pretty, and then you can come into Yellowstone. If you've never seen Yellowstone, or you want to see Yellowstone, then you're going to want to follow the Trans Am. And then most scenic through the plains. I mean, Colorado's pretty, but then you got to suffer all the way through Kansas. So if you skip that, you can go the Cowboy Trail or northern Nebraska, which is more nice western vibes. And then as for the east and the Midwest, I mean, I'm from Missouri. It's just all insane hill country down here. The Katy Trail is a flat gravel trail across the state, so that's kind of more mellow. Illinois and Indiana, it's kind of a wash. It's all pretty much the same, however you slice it. There's real pretty spots within the state, but they're all kind of hidden everywhere. The old Trans Am route through Kentucky and eastern Kentucky, I mean, this part is just insane. I grew up in hill country, and the hill country of eastern country is on a new level than what you get in Missouri. But so yeah, for most scenic at this point, you'd want to switch over, and I don't have it uploaded yet, but you can connect through here west of east of Louisville to get up to Cincinnati. You'd want to connect up if you didn't already come across this way, and finish the Ohio section through the Great Allegheny Passage and the C&O Trail into DC. Those are going to definitely be a level and above kind of all of this. I mean, the Blue Ridge Parkway is beautiful. Virginia in itself is a beautiful state, and it's tough to say which is more scenic at this point than one or the other. But I would argue in favor for the red route being a little more scenic. Just because it's bike path. I mean, maybe not scenic, just serene is probably a better way to describe it, because to ride through eastern Kentucky and the heart of Appalachia, it's just insanity. I mean, it's crazy what that hill country is like back there. Whereas if you go through Ohio, you're just on bike path, and you go through Pennsylvania, Maryland, you're just on bike path, and it's a totally different experience to Appalachia than you will get in eastern Kentucky. More scenic, I don't know. I really think this is kind of the way to go. I mean, if you want to see Yorktown, you want to see Virginia. If your vibe is Virginia, go to Virginia. But if your vibe is like a mellow way through Appalachia, you want to go down the Bike Nonstop route. And that's pretty much all there is to it. You know, it's any concerns with heading south from St. Louis to Kentucky and finishing in Yorktown. No, I mean, it's whatever you want to do. It's just checkpoints. And I'm going to have to reinforce this over and over and over again. If you don't go down the band road and you go through the checkpoints, you can figure out whatever else you want to do. You know, there's the Mississippi River Trail that runs on literally both sides of the Mississippi River down through here. And maybe in the future I'm going to post that as an option, but on top of all these other routes I'm trying to manage for folks, I don't really have the bandwidth to be like, oh hey, or you could ride the Mississippi River, because it's functionally it adds a whole bunch more mileage to start going up and down the river. So concerns, no. Am I gonna lay out the route for people to do that? Probably not anytime soon. I don't see a lot of people choosing that. I've made all these other options for folks, and historically very few people have taken them. So I'm not super motivated to make extra routes for theoretical ways that people could ride across the states. I'm really just trying to provide some obvious guidelines and an ethos and a philosophy to the approach towards it. So it's going to be difficult to communicate that to everybody who's following this race and being a part of it. So many people don't even know the Trans Am exists as Trans Am Bike Nonstop now. Many people, they saw the movie and that's how it's lived in their heads for 10 plus years. And it's a lot of work for me to try and change this format and communicate. Basically, we're just like, don't ride the band roads, ride to the checkpoints. And everything else is just your decision. So that pretty much covers it for everything, all our band areas. I didn't really go over these two band areas. Basically, you don't want to ride down through the Warm Springs Reservation on Highway 26 or 197 or 26. Basically, not a way I want people to go through the state. Through Oregon, you got your northern route and your southern route, and then same over here on Idaho. This connector, Highway 20, turns into Highway 26 over here, still Highway 26 down here, and then these two split off. Still 26, I think. That one doesn't have a thing on it. 20 and I forgot to label that one. Uh-oh. Anyway, you get the idea. So that pretty much covers where we're at for the present time. Anybody got any other questions out there? Concerns? Information on sign up? Otherwise, I'm just going to shut down here. That's pretty much all there is to it. You want to sign up, go to rideyourbike.com, fill out the inquiry. It shows you all the information. Once you fill out the form, it shows you all this. You've successfully completed the inquiry. And then it shows you the manual. It should send you an email. If you haven't seen an email from me, last day to sign up would be, right now we're saying it's January 15th. That is unofficial. I may or may not close it then. It's just up to me and how I'm feeling about it. Yeah, if you're not seeing